Good evening, Year 11. Welcome to your Night 4 News Paper 2 for Foundation. So now we've had Paper 1, the first thing we can start to do is we can start talking about what's going to be in this exam, or more specifically, what we've seen in Paper 1 and what's not going to be in this exam. And that's what I've listed below. So here are all the topics that came up in Paper 1. There's about 30 topics there, things that we've already seen. Doesn't mean we won't see them all again. For instance, we had a rounding question as the very first question in Paper 1. Now, it doesn't mean we won't be asked to round an answer to another question. We saw decimal to percentages, one of our conversions between decimals, percentages, and fractions. Doesn't mean we won't see another type of decimals to percentages questions. We did see ordering decimals, we could see ordering fractions. But then things like a bar chart or function machines, we can start to cross things off. We're not going to see another bar chart. We're not going to see another function machine. We're not going to see another stem and leaf. Probably not going to see another translation. We're not going to have another power of zero question. Some of these things we can cross off, but some of these things, just because we've seen them doesn't mean we won't see them again. There's ratios there. We might see ratio again. We're probably going to see some more probability. We've seen nth term. We could see something else to do with a sequence. We could see something else to do with percentages, or we're very likely to see more percentages and more ratios. So although we can cross off some of those things we can't. So what might be in the exam? Well, we can't say for certain we're going to see these things, and they could come up in Paper 2 or Paper 3, but we can focus on these things. We can start with number. And in number, we could see standard form. We could see something using a calculator, very, very common. We said ordering fractions, we've already seen decimals. And we could see lots of these different type of things come up again. Didn't see products of prime factors, another really common exam question. In terms of probability and statistics, I've crossed some of those things off. We're not going to see stem and leaf. We're not going to see bar charts. We're unlikely to see Venn diagrams again. But we didn't see many averages in Paper 1, so averages are definitely going to come up. There's going to be more probability questions. There's going to maybe be some more statistical diagrams. We quite often see pictograms, two-way tables, frequency trees. So there's a lot of probability and statistics that could still come up. In terms of geometry, not really a lot we can cross off here. I have crossed off translation, but very little other geometry came up. So lots of other things could come up in this section. Think trigonometry, Pythagoras, circles, angles. We know we quite often see one of those 3-4 mark angles questions where you need to identify the size of an angle and give your reasons why. But lots and lots of geometry we still haven't seen. So really difficult to cross some of this stuff off. So geometry is one area I think we are likely to see lots of content. In terms of ratio and proportion, we saw combining a ratio. We saw a best buys question, but still lots of other things on this slide that we haven't seen. We didn't see any type of interest. We didn't really see using a percentage to find a percentage of amount or to do an increase and a decrease. So lots of other percentages stuff and ratio and proportion that could come up. And finally, in algebra, we've seen function machines. We did see the equation of a line, so those two can come off. We did see solving an equation with brackets. Doesn't mean we won't see some more solving equations. Doesn't mean we won't see lots of other algebra, whether that's factorizing, whether that's plotting graphs. Now, you can't revise all of those things. So it's all about targeting those things you know you struggle with. Those things that haven't come up that I might have just mentioned that you're like, oh, hang on a minute. I don't remember how to factorize into two brackets. I don't remember how to do a pictogram. I don't remember how to plot a line. I don't remember how to do a percentage increase or decrease. And it's thinking about those specific topics that you're not sure about that we can do this evening. And a lot of what we can do this evening is very similar to what we did before Paper 1. If we want to look at specific topics, there are a number of places we could go. Firstly, and I think probably the most powerfully, we've used Sparks a lot. We've got those videos on there, is Sparks. Go on to Sparks, go to independent learning and enter some topics. It might be you want to type in percentages of an amount or percentage increase, and you want to try some of those questions because you know it's going to come up and you're not confident. Remember to make sure it's set to GCSE. Remember to make sure to search those things you can't do. You could also go to ExamQ. We've seen this before. Make sure you choose Foundation, not Higher, and make sure you choose those calculator papers, Paper 2 and Paper 3. Remember, it could be in either paper. Paper 2 and Paper 3 could have the same content. It could be that here you want to search plotting a graph. You want to remind yourself to plot a table and then to plot those points and join it up. You could also, on ExamQ, then see the mark scheme to help you know where to pick up those marks. Maths Genie is another really useful place. Again, go to Maths Genie and go to the GCSE revision section. This is really good to get a sample of different exam questions, to get 5, 6, 7, 8 questions that have solutions as well for you to practice, as well as Corbett. Corbett, more for like just pure repetition of the same skill, but again, there's plenty on Corbett under videos and worksheets for you to try. So there are all the places we can go to find those specific topics we might want to revise. The final one, first class maths, set it to Edexcel and choose those topics. And here it tells you the likelihood it might come up because of past series appearance. Now that doesn't mean it definitely will, definitely won't come up, but it's just another place we can find those questions. And this is what to do if we want to look at specific topics. But we also know that you might want to do practice papers, and we talk about practice papers all the time. And where do we get those practice papers? Again, going to take you back to Maths Genie, choosing Edexcel GCSE papers, and on there, choosing a paper 2 or paper 3. Tomorrow morning, I talked about this last time, the hub is open from 7 AM. On the morning of paper 1, the hub was buzzing. There were so many people in there. There was such a good atmosphere. Lots of people. Can you mark this? Can you mark this? How do I do this question? How do I do this skill? What's a really common thing for me to revise? Lots of people asking the right questions to pick up those 4, 5, 6 marks on the morning of the exam. Always talk about this. Bring some questions you haven't been able to answer. There's no point coming in on the morning of the exam with 10 questions you know how to do and you're just going to sit there and do those in 10 seconds. That doesn't help you. Bring in something you're stuck on. Bring on similar types of questions to things previously you haven't been able to do that you can sit down and say, Sir, Miss, can you talk me through this? Sir, Miss, remind me how I plot a graph. Oh, sir, how do I find a percentage of this? Those important questions you can't answer is where you gain the most marks the morning of the exam. If you can't do it the night before and you don't ask for help and it comes up, you'll be kicking yourself that you didn't ask for help on those questions. Come in the morning of the exam with a set of things you're not sure about and find a maths teacher to help. We'll line up at 8:25, we'll then go to the maths classrooms and we'll see these breakfast mats. And again on here, it's not about working from 1 to 20, it's about identifying the ones you know you'd struggle with, having a go at it, checking the answer. Oh, sir, can you just help me with the simultaneous equations? Can't quite remember how to do it. Oh, what's this one at the bottom? Oh, I don't remember column vectors. Can I have some help? And that's really, really important, targeting your work in the morning. My final message, Year 11, as always, is good luck for that exam tomorrow. We can cross off some things, but still work hard, still push and push and push, and bring in those questions tomorrow morning that you can't do. You've got this. Good luck.